what is the way?
Well, we've already established that the true goal of life is for you to become the best person you can be. And for you to do that, you need to do it within a conducive environment, society, right? So then the next question becomes okay, so if we want to become the best people we can be, how do we do it? And what I found is the solution every single person is after, the whole solution of humanity involves four things, okay? It has to have these four principles, otherwise it will not work. The first principle is you have to live it. Okay, this needs to be something you become, right? You are this solution. It can't be something you do once in a while. You have to go to a mountain for 20 years to understand and maybe come back and hopefully no. It needs to be like in your life, customizable to everybody right now.
This is Emily Harmon, host of the Onward Podcast, and I want to give a heads up to my Onward Podcast listeners. Number one, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for listening to the Onward Podcast. And number two, I wanted to let you know that starting in January of 2022, I started to call my live show Onward Live, and I changed the theme. It's about creating a life you love living now. I'm going to publish the Onward Live episodes under the Onward Podcast brand. So this is part of the transition. This episode was recorded back in the fall of 2021. And I have a few more episodes like this to publish. They were recorded live as the Onward Podcast. Pretty soon, though, we will transition to all Onward Live episodes being broadcast under the Onward Podcast brand. No worries, I'm still going to bring you awesome guests and awesome interviews. Conducting these interviews is one of my most favorite things to do. I learn from every single guest, and I hope you do too. Let's cut to the interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Onward Podcast. I'm Emily Harmon, the host. And for those of you who don't know me, I retired after working for the Department of the Navy in 2019, and I worked for the Navy for 34 years. And when I retired, everyone was telling me what I should do. And I thought, what is it that I want to do? I'm finally retiring and my kids are grown and they're out of the house and I get to, figure out what I want. And then it was like, but what is it that I want? Because my dreams got buried under a mountain of responsibilities of being a single parent, raising a kid, challenges with my kids, which I've talked about on the Onward Podcast. I've interviewed both of my children. And so right as I was figuring that out, 3 weeks after I retired, my daughter called and said, Mom, Dad has cancer. And we were divorced. We had been divorced for many years, but it was my children's father. And so, within 2 weeks after his diagnosis, he was paralyzed in both arms and he passed away 5 months later. And December 11th is the day he passed away of 2019 and almost 2 years ago. And it was at that time that I realized I knew I'd want to be a coach. And I realized I want to coach people on creating a life that they love living now, because I saw Bruce pass away with regrets. And part of creating a life that we love living now is understanding who we really are. And I was also doing the podcast, and the initial theme of the Onward Podcast was facing adversity, moving forward, and discovering and then I added, and discovering ourselves along the way. Because that's what really happens when you face adversity. You really learn about yourself. And that's why I'm excited to bring today's guest, Andrew Calderella. I'm sorry. I think I got
That's
it.
All right. It's Calderella. Just so everybody knows, my name's Andrew Calderella. It's like Cinderella, Calderella, right. Cinder Calder on the mail.
And he told me that.
Yeah. And that means I am looking for my princess. Hope she'll come and rescue me at some point.
And he brought this book. He wrote this book, which I have. And we're talking tonight about discovering our true selves. And I'm excited that you're here. So tell us a little bit about you. Andrew, I wanted to tell you, I was eating dinner with my parents tonight. That's one of the reasons I retired, is I wanted to be able to spend more time with them. And I read your bio and my parents were like, what are you going to ask him? I said, I don't know. I'll figure it out. You've done so much in your life.
It's been a pretty traumatic experience. I guess when everybody asks me to tell about my story, they always want me to kind of start at the beginning. So I'll kind of do this. Sorry if it sounds a little prepared. I've said this a couple times. But I was born in Detroit, Michigan in 1966 to parents that were fighting for the civil rights movement. I was born with dyslexia, the learning disabilities, as well as a lazy eye. Now, the lazy eye meant I was seeing 2200 vision out of that eye. They put a patch over my good eye to make me look out of that bad eye to strengthen it. Needless to say, I didn't do very well in school. I was bullied relentlessly, called stupid every day, and mocked. Even the teachers got into it. I had one teacher ridicule me in front of the whole class, telling me how stupid I was and I should just leave. It was very traumatic. And I did end up graduating, though, with some help from my mom, thank God, and special people. And I went on to high school, graduated from high school. I was a school leader, became vice president of the school, kind of came out of my shell in 11th grade. I was an athlete, basketball, track, cross country, went on to college, got degrees in speech communications, theology, and philosophy, was on the rowing team crew, and was elected programming commissioner, started a bunch of companies. I've been attacked by dogs many times, almost lost my leg. I've been in many car accidents. I almost couldn't walk for 5 to 10 years, stand up straight or anything. A lot of fights. You can't even imagine. I almost killed people or saved people's lives. So many things. But while all this was happening, I just want to say I was on this greater mission, and it did start when I was young. And it was to find out how I could be the best person I could be, and we all could, and we could fix this world. And it kind of a lot of different spiritual experiences and intense life experiences that kind of showed me the way. And in 2015, I had a huge breakthrough. I saw these 7 steps and how all this information I had collected over all these 30 years fit into the way on how I could explain it to people. And the only reason I'm here is because this book offers solutions to the greatest problems facing humanity and you as a person. So this isn't about me. I'm not saying any of this because it's about me doing this. I would have been doing something else. But anyway, that's why I'm here. And that's a little bit about my story.
Well, I'm so excited to learn more about what you've got in this book. Let's welcome some of the people watching. Hi, James. Thank you. James supports this show a lot, and I appreciate that. Yeah. And then we've got a Facebook user, I can't tell who it is, saying, hi, Emily and Andrew. And I guess that's what happens sometimes too, is the people watching go back and forth and say hi. So I guess they know each other. Worries. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions that you want me to ask Andrew, please put them in the chat and I'll catch them and we'll ask them. So your book, which I have a banner here, it's called The Way, and then it's 7 revolutionary steps to living a meaningful life and making a difference in the world. And
a real difference.
A real difference. Yeah, real difference you've got there. And so what do you mean by meaningful life?
Well, I guess it all starts out with what is the goal of life. That's like where I always start this question is, why am I here? What is the purpose of this? And so when I talk to people, we all want to become the best people we can be and live this wonderful life. So it kind of sums up that whole idea in meaningful. So not only do you want to be the best person you can be, but you'd like to have a positive impact in the world and have great relationships and maybe do something worthwhile and meaningful, impactful. And that's what this book shows you how to do. So not only becoming the best you in all the different facets. Let me just say this. One of the most complex things about this is that, and I found, is that we need to become our best, but there's so many different pieces that we need. There's so many bits of information on so many different genres, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in your family, your relationships, and your work. It goes on and on and on. And it's like, how do you get that to everybody in a piece, in a quick way, relatively, right? Seems like so many authors I read and so many things are about giving you more and more and more programs that you can buy to learn more and more and more. And it's like, I just want you to know the basics so you can build your life from there. So that's kind of the idea of what it is to be meaningful, is for you to becoming your best, connecting with other people and making a positive difference in the world.
Yeah. And it seems like you, even at age 13, from what I read, wanted to become your best. That's when you, on your own, stopped eating junk food.
I did. It started out before then. I don't know. I think when you're bullied a lot as a kid, and I couldn't see well and didn't have, really close friends, and you kind of go inside. So my internal world, I'm very creative. Not only do I have learning disabilities, I'm also tested out to be a genius in abstract thinking and these other areas. So a lot of times when people have these so-called learning disabilities, they're really just kind of overshadowing something else that they were given. And for me, like I said, I've had a lot of spiritual experiences, and they started when I was really young, knowing this connection to God, not the not the God that we think of. We think of a religion. I'm talking about the creator. You know what I mean? Like that goes beyond that, and connecting with that spirit and having that kind of guide my life. So when I understood that eating junk food was not healthy for you, I stopped doing it. And just, I am 55, which is kind of a shocker. I wake up, it's like, wow, I'm getting older. I know, but it's like, how do you be healthy your whole life? I've been in car accidents when I couldn't walk, and I was able to heal myself. The mind is such a powerful healer, but you also need all these little vitamins and nutrients and, minerals and exercise and to keep yourself going. It's not just your mind or your body separately. They work together, and so does your emotions and everything else. So you gotta, it's like, how do I say this? It's like, you see those guys that balance plates in the air on those sticks?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're running around like crazy. That's kind of what life is like. It's like, oh, my body, oh, wait, my mind, my relationship, my wife, you know what I mean? You got to keep it all going, and it needs to be going to a certain level. Otherwise it's going to crash. And it's like, we're as strong as our weakest link. And so for me, it was like, how do we shore up all of this? You know what I mean? So none of it breaks, none of it cracks. And we, joining with other people doing the same thing, can create a better and better world for ourselves. So like I said, so for me, this started when I was young, realizing that all these pieces were needed. But as a kid, I didn't know. You know what I mean? You need to gain a lot of knowledge. So that's where my journey kind of started.
Yeah. So it seems hard then when you're saying you've got to pay attention to all this stuff. It seems overwhelming.
Well, it does. And that's what it took me 30 years, right? Because it is, literally, I had to go deep into the body, learn how the cells work and everything on that. But then your mind, deep into Freud and all Jung and Skinner and, all the rest of it. It was like every one of these different genres you have to master, but none of us has the time to spend all of this years and years doing this research. I was blessed or cursed, I don't know how you say it, by having some abilities, but I did give up a lot to do this. Relationships, weekends, nights. When I was hurt in the car accident, I spent 10 years recuperating and spent a lot of time doing this research. And what I found was there are keys and threads that if you just pull them out, you don't need to know everything Skinner went through and Freud and everybody else and the background of everything to know how to control your mind, right? You need some key pieces of information, and that's it, right? So the whole idea here is like what I was told when I was young. My dad always said this to me. And again, I'm not trying to say that I'm a genius or anything, but they tested me out this way, and I had these weird abilities to do different things and see things. But I was also, like I said, I had learning disabilities too, so I couldn't write very well. So I was kind of a messed up kid. And I was like, wow, he's super smart. He's talking really early, but he can't write. He can't read. What is going on with this kid? So I went to a lot of classes, a lot of doctors, you can imagine. And it was like to get you to focus and to find something that's super complex and then drill it down to simplicity and then show it to people is the greatest gift, right?
Yeah,
it truly is. And that's where this idea of the way came into me, because it's taking the super complex and making it simple and distilling it down so you can literally integrate this into your life once you understand it through the daily way, through understanding these basic principles and doing the things that, like you said, this book is about solutions. So it's integrating these solutions into your life. It's really that simple. And once you know this stuff, it's like knowing freedom. You know what I mean? You're not going to unknow that you want to be free. I'm a slave. I forgot the idea of freedom. No, that's not going to happen. So once you understand universal truth, you're going to want to integrate it in your life, and it will not go away. And again, everybody's told me this. Everybody I show this to is like, yes, this is the way. That's why it's named the way. It's the human way.
So when you say discovering our true selves, what do you mean by our true selves?
Sure. Well, I believe that all of us, let's see, how do I say this? It's like I spent 30 years writing a book, and now I got to go on show and explain everything in 2 minutes. So please bear with me, everybody, and know that the answers are in the book. The idea of the true self is your best self, right? The idea of your true life, as I define in the book, is your best life, right? So the idea of becoming your true self, living your best life, helping to create the best society we can be, shouldn't seem that out of the realm of what your goal is. Because this is the focus of all religion, pretty much all self-help books, education, everything else that you're doing, everything that a mom wants for her child is for them to become the best people they can be, have great relationships, be smart and healthy and safe and all the rest, right? That's what we all want. Every single human being on this planet wants the same thing. We're not divided. So your true self, for you to be that person, you need to understand certain keys of how to manage your body and your mind, your emotions and your spirit and your finances and your relationships and all the rest. Because we're all born ignorant. Nobody knows anything. So if somebody's smarter than you or knows something that you don't, it doesn't make them better than you, right? It just
Yeah.
means they learned something, And so if we share the similar education on the universal truths, then we can join together and have better relationships. It's like communication with your spouse. If you learn what they need, you can have a more fulfilling relationship because each person is looking for something from the other. And if they're not being fulfilled, the relationships often fall apart. But if you learn how to take those steps, you often can build a stronger relationship. The same thing with your body, or your mind, your emotions. The principles are all the same. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I got a question for you. So if this is the way, and if everybody wants to, be their best selves, and if everybody wants to live a meaningful life and make a real difference in the world, then why isn't this taught in school?
Well, I just discovered it. So it just came out in December of last year. So it's been out for, and I've had a lot of traumatic experiences, so I'm a little behind the 8 ball right now. For some reason, God made me a little challenged sometimes financially or physically or mentally, whatever it may be, to kind of join with other people and seek help. So that's what I'm out here doing. It will be taught in schools, hopefully. The whole idea of the seventh foundation that we've set up is to take this beyond me and beyond my life. We need more people that are speaking the truth of what the way is and sharing it with the world. Somebody already told me that my book was outlawed in China, like they won't even print it there.
That's a compliment.
I know. There's like 1 billion people there that we need to reach, though, so it's kind of sad at the same time. So the idea here is, though, these universal truths, once they're understood and people are living the way and sharing the way with each other, it will change the world. There is no other way it can happen. And we can talk about what the way is. People are like, yeah, what is the way? What is he talking about?
Yeah, let's talk about it. What are these 7 steps and what is the way? I mean, it's hard to summarize because you've got, it's a long book, but it's a great read. I'm not done with it, but I'm definitely reading it, and you can see I've got a lot of highlights in here. So there's a lot of good information in this book.
I appreciate it.
We only have, limited time. So what is the way?
Well, we've already established that the true goal of life is for you to become the best person you can be. And for you to do that, you need to do it within a conducive environment, society, right? So then the next question becomes okay, so if we want to become the best people we can be, how do we do it? And what I found is the solution every single person is after, the whole solution of humanity involves 4 things, okay? It has to have these 4 principles, otherwise it will not work. The first principle is you have to live it. Okay, this needs to be something you become, right? You are this solution. It can't be something you do once in a while. You have to go to a mountain for 20 years to understand and maybe come back and hopefully no, it needs to be like in your life, customizable to everybody right now. So it's living rational. The rational part is about it being reasonable and logical and customizable to fit in everybody's life, and holistic. It's got to cover everything. It's got to be fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's got to have all of these different principles. Otherwise, it's not going to work, right? So it's living, rational, positive. And this positive part is really key. And this is one of the greatest insights I had as a young person. Okay, if you want to integrate positive into your life, we're talking about traits that humanity most wants and desires for ourselves and we admire in other people. These are called virtues. Okay, I know you heard the word virtue before, but a virtuous person or whatever, but don't just skip by this. Virtues are numerous. Here's a list of them here. I can't really see it on the screen, but it's like being rational and reasonable and healthy and a hard worker, frugal, prepared, happy, organized, you name it. I mean, you can go through 1 million of these. These characteristics that we all want, we're trying to integrate into our life, are called virtues. Being a good communicator, having great relationships, you name it. This is a virtue. You admire it in other people. So it's living rational, positive, about integrating virtue. Action, because every virtue requires action, and it might take more than one, right? So it's like the virtue of being punctual requires you to take actions like setting reminders, leaving on time. Being healthy, gosh, so many different best practices that you need to integrate. So, I didn't mention that. So the idea of taking action, the best actions are called best practices. So the idea is integrating virtues into your life is about integrating these best practices. Like I said, leaving on time, setting reminders, being healthy, having great sleeping, eating, exercise, and so forth and so on. Way to do it, right? That you're going to be healthy. So if you know how to do all of these different things in all these different areas and integrate these virtues into your life, you will become a better person. This is how you do it. You literally make yourself into a better person every single day by the actions you take, by what you think, by what you're doing. Does that make sense? So if you're doing the best practices and you're integrating virtues and you're trying to do that in every situation, you will become a better and better person. Make
Russ
sense?
says we should definitely choose to be the best person God made us to be and take action on it. And then he says, thank you, Andrew, for your positive perspective. Russ is a coach too, who encourages people to live the life they choose and, have purpose and passion. But the thing is that it seems to me a lot of us know things that we, quote unquote, should do to be a better person. Like we should work out and we should get a good night's sleep, but we don't do it.
Well, you also don't know how. Like we really literally, there's so much information out there. Sometimes it's almost too
overwhelming.
Much. It's overwhelming, but it's also, it's not right. You know what I mean? Like somebody's telling you to eat all meat. Another person's telling you don't eat any animals at all. You know what I mean? Or whatever it may be. There's all these extremes and everybody's trying to sell you the next extreme solution so they can sell you books. It's like, that's not what I did. So just so you know, the way is broken up into 3 books because we couldn't put it all in one. I wrote it all as one. The first book gives you all 7 steps and gives you the full philosophy and, like you said, solutions. The second book is called The Life Manual. And in step 5, you'll find it's all about creating your daily way. And the daily way is literally a map on how you map out integrating all these key virtues into your life. But you need to know, like you said, it's like how to work out, how to eat, how to do all these basic stuff. So that's what the second book is about. It literally granularly, step by step, walks you through the best practices on how to do everything, sleeping, eating. Can't go through the whole list right now, but that's the whole idea of that book. And just so you know, just follow up, the third book is called The Child and Family Guide. And that's about how you take the knowledge that's in these first 2 books and help your children integrate this knowledge within them as they grow. And this is one of the biggest keys on how we create a better world. Because think about it like this. If your children are able to grow up with the best practices as their foundational habits, they don't have to relearn anything later in life. Mm-hmm. Most of the problems in a human being can be solved on how we raise our children. You know what I'm saying? Because they literally are a clean slate. You know what I mean? They're a baby, and you need to feed them good information, good food, and everything else. And if you give it to the right, not everybody needs the same thing in the right way. Everybody needs to be customized. But if you give them what they need, they can become the best person they can be. And certainly if you do not, they can turn out not so good, right? And you just look at the world today and we can see that living, out in front of us.
So these 7 steps: know, want, choose, center, be, unite, and perfect.
Yes.
So do you want to kind of summarize each of the 7?
Sure. Let's see if I can do that in a couple minutes. Okay. Let's just do the first 3 because these are kind of the key to where you start. And this is how we as humanity, all of us can kind of walk down this path together. There's a lot more to the way, just, the way is living rational positive action within that. And I've explained this before about what the meaning of life is and how the human conditions under which we live kind of make this all work for all of us. And so I could do that, but we could do the first 3 steps if you want.
Okay.
All right. So these first 3 steps are like this. The very first step, and again, this is how all of us, and again, you got to start somewhere, remember everybody. So this is how we can start with everybody in the world taking these first 3 steps to get on our true path. The first step is for you, like you said, to know. We have to perceive something to know it. But the one thing that you do know is once you know what the good is, like clean water, freedom, being healthy and happy and all you naturally want it. So you know the good, you know what the good is. Most of us can decipher what good and bad is, right? And then to know it is to want it. You naturally would want the good for yourself and everybody else, right? It's not like you're like, yeah, I want everybody to have clean water and to be happy and healthy and have great education and all the rest of the good stuff, right? So then from there, right, the next step is you have to make a choice. And this is, in the book, I talk about the idea of a real choice being something that kind of overshadows the rest of your life. Meaning you really have to want to be good. You really have to want to fix yourself and be the best person you can be. This can't be something you think about like, oh yeah, on a Tuesday every year, I think about being a better person. No, it needs to be a true choice that you choose this path. And once you make a choice, you don't know how to do it, but you need to make the choice. And that's how
it can't be just like a New Year resolution,
Well, you can start there. You can take the book and say on the New Year's resolution, but then you have to do it.
You have to do it. Yeah.
And the problem with New Year's resolutions and all the rest of these pieces that we find is that they're not holistic. when I was growing up, it's not like I knew the way, the whole of the way, the whole time I grew up. I did find some principles along the way that saved me. But the idea is, without all of these, you're gonna fall down, because one of those weakest links is gonna break. You know, if you're not great at communication or keeping your relationships good, your relationship might break, right? And getting a divorce, you've been through it, is not a pleasant experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing, losing friends, going through grief, having traumatic things happen to you. If you don't know how to deal with your mind and your emotions, those things can ruin you, right? You can lose your job and become an alcoholic, or God knows. So this idea of shoring yourself up, immunizing yourself against all the horrible things in the world is what you need to do. And the key here is you don't know which one of those things is your weakest link sometimes until it breaks. And that's where the way comes in, because it shores up all of those pieces you know or don't know about. So those are the first 3 steps, is to know, then you want the good, and then you make this choice. And again, this choice is like, seriously, you have to realize, and again, this is what the way will walk you through this, but the whole goal of life, like if you look at faith, just the whole idea of faith, it's about you becoming a better person, right? It's about creating a better world. Those 2 principles overlie everything. This whole idea of falling to the dark side, the light side, virtue versus vice, right versus wrong, good versus bad. People, it's a passé, that's so old, good, evil. No, this is the reality. This is what you're doing when you're trying to become a better person. Because if you don't, you're becoming a worse person. You know, most of the evils in the world are done by people thinking they're doing good. Few organizations or people or anything I've ever studied come out and say we're evil and we're doing evil in the world. Hitler was the greatest savior of the planet. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the bomber, people are blowing themselves up. They're honoring God and helping everybody understand. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is doing evil thinking they're doing evil. It's always the good. So we as good people, if you're getting up and ready to hate and kill people and overthrow and put in dictators and put those people down and make them do it yourself, and you feel good and self-righteous, I'm telling you, you fall into the dark side. This is the whole idea. You think you're so good. This is how people get destroyed. This is how we rationalize genocide. Okay, this is not a joke. This is the whole point to life. And if we can all just realize this and then get on the same page with some of these foundational beliefs and ideas, we can become better people within. We can join together on these foundations and create a better world. It's going to take all of us.
What is, so if somebody read this book, and they also are a parent and they've got kids and they've got a job, is it overwhelming to put this all together?
No. I think that's the beauty of the way, is that it simplifies it all for you. It's like what I found in reading all these hundreds and thousands of books is that, and studying all this information, is that it's not as complicated as everybody makes it out to be. We can talk about step 4. This is one of the greatest insights I had. Okay, and this was something that many lifetimes of people have spent in. And this is the idea of literally what is the core? How do you start to become the best person you can be? Where does it all begin? Right? We talked about this idea of knowing, wanting, and choosing. But then the next step is to center yourself in a complete core belief system that covers all of life, because it will guide you through life, and it will have you could use it as a waiting station to where everything you're doing, everything you're going through, you can look at these 10 laws and see how your choices fit, and it will guide you. And I say this, let me just back up and why this is so important. I had studied the mind for 30, 40 years, whatever. It was ridiculous. And I was deep into Freud and Jung and going through some of their case studies. And it was like, you can find people that have similar problems, right? And one person will be okay and the other person will be destroyed.
Right.
And you can go through this over and over and over and over and over. And it's like, it dawned on me what the difference was. And I was also studying the body at this time too. And I was getting into placebos and faith healing and all of this. And it all comes down to your belief, your mind, period. That is it, 100%. The people that believe that they have the power to heal themselves, to be healed, will be healed. The people that do not believe that, no matter what the doctor does, helps them in their mind, talking to them, it will never work, because they have to take that step to know that they're good enough. They forgive themselves. They understand that they make mistakes and they can move to this next level, right? Same thing with your body. Placebos are an amazing idea, that the idea of faith healing. You can literally heal somebody by the power of belief. You can take away pain. Somebody has their leg cut off in a war. You don't have anything. You tell them, we're going to give you this It's nothing. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, I don't feel anything anymore. This is the power of being human. We haven't even begin to tap into this. And I had my own experience with this twice. I almost lost my leg. I said that to being bit by a dog. My leg got infected. I mean, I didn't know this. I was a kid. This was the second time I was attacked, and I was infected. There was pus coming out of it. I'd go to the doctor and get my leg squeezed every day. It was a nightmare. But I was 3 days away from having my leg cut off. And my mom told me this. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea it was this bad. And 3 days, I was freaked out, right? 3 days, I healed my leg. No infection. Because I understood I had to heal it. Otherwise, I was going to lose my leg. And I was not going to lose my leg. I was in a car accident, ruptured a disc in my back, blew out my hips, and my leg was 3 inches shorter. I couldn't stand up. I ruptured 2 discs in my back, or in my lower back too. And I was ruined. I mean, I was in my 30s, laying in bed, a couple of days crying because I was in pain so much I couldn't even take a deep breath without spasming out because it was ruptured right behind my heart. Couldn't even operate on it because it was so bad. He's like, you got a 70% chance of death. But I ended up healing myself.
How'd you do it? Both times, how'd you do it?
Well, the first time as a kid, I don't know. I just envisioned, okay, I got to back up a second. My sister has had a lot of health issues since she was a little kid. I'm talking operation in the first year of life to save her life, kidneys and things. And throughout her life, she's had to have these operations. And you know, when my mom always told me, like when I was a little kid, that there's a little warriors in your body that are fighting a war against the bad, the bad guys, the good, bad guys. And you can make the bad or your good guys stronger. So I would, in my body, I also had a lot of spiritual experiences. So this idea of light and the sun and having this healing light go through your body and healing you. When I was 14, and I think it was 14, when I was bit by that dog, all I did was lay in my bed and think about light filling my body up and just pushing all the badness out of me. And this is part of meditation. You do this meditation, getting the darkness out of you. There's a lot of ways to do this I've learned intentionally. But I think as a kid, it was just kind of natural to just focus. And I had this sun. It was in my calf where I was bit. And it was just like a sun sat there for all those days. And I was so scared when I went to the doctor because I thought I was going to cough my leg. I mean, he was there every day squeezing my leg. I had tubes in there. It was disgusting.
Wow.
And the second time, it did take longer because there was also a lot of physical therapy involved. I was broken. You know what I mean? My hip traction. And I mean, I couldn't even barely move. I would literally crawl out of my bed and lay on the floor. I'd crawl to the bathroom. Going to the bathroom when you have a broken back I don't want to talk about it, but you know what I'm saying? It was a nightmare. And it went on for years and years. And I sometimes would get some gains and I'd fall backwards, but it was the belief. You had to keep the belief that you would be healed. And if you saw me now, I mean, I have some issues, don't get me wrong. And I actually just fixed part of my hip this year. So 20 years later, it's like, so don't ever give up that you can do this. But I'm stronger than most people you ever met, honestly. I mean, I had done martial arts and swimming and, you name it, I've done it and do it. So it's just part of who I am. And it's like you have to see yourself as that whole person. You know what I mean? And just picture yourself that way and fix your body to make that belief true, And I mean, it's mental, it's physical, emotional. I mean, the emotional part is probably the most challenging in some respects because, those negative emotions. I went through bullying. I've wanted to kill myself. I have videos on that, how to overcome addiction, how to overcome negative thinking, depression, and suicide. But this idea of your mind, like I said, controlling it. Everybody's got that little devil, right? That's all this negativity. And you know what's funny when I talk about this? Everybody doesn't want to talk about the little devil thing, but it's so prevalent. And I think if we just admitted that there seems like this is outside force that is just dumping crap on you all the time to see what you're going to do. When I was a kid, I had a lot of spiritual experiences. Some of them were like dreams or visions or whatever. But I had this dream series about confronting the devil. And it's like, you have to see Satan as this uncle that's kind of a dick. I'm sorry to use the swear word.
It's okay.
But he just says a bunch of shit all the time. And it's really what you do with it that matters. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like, wanting to kill yourself. First of all, when you're a little kid, you don't really know. I think it was like 5th grade. I realized I could kill myself. And I was like, really? You could kill yourself? And then it became an issue. But this idea is like, this is a testing ground. This is a training ground. This is not heaven. This is not you trying, just being the best person you can be. You have to make yourself that person. You have to try to be that person. You have to work at it every single day. And this idea is like, then what is the test, right? Part of this voice in your head is the test. Are you going to become what Satan wants you to be? You know what I mean? Are you going to give up? Are you going to fail? Are you going to do the negative, do the the negative thing? Or are you going to be this more powerful, good being? Are you going to overcome that, right? And that's the challenge. This life wouldn't be much if it weren't like literally life and death challenge.
I've heard Deepak Chopra talking about that, about the mind and, the monkey brain, and that we are not the mind. We are the observer of the mind.
Well, I think you're all of it. I think one of the biggest problems I've always found when I studied psychology, especially, and some of the thinkers of the world that spread this, is they divide your mind. Mm-hmm. And when I started meditating when I was really young. And just to give you the first breakthrough I remember I was like 19 years old, and there's different types of meditation. Zen meditation is about clearing and stopping and just being, right? And I went on a Zen retreat, and I don't remember how many days in, but it was like the third day in, nobody could talk. Okay, there's no talking. It was just meditating, eating clean food, and listening to cool music and discussions about peace and all this kind of stuff. So the third day I was meditating, and everybody's mind, how your mind just runs like a TV set and it changes channels and you just don't have any control. I mean, that's what most people's minds are like. When you learn this skill, and it's really just a skill, it's a power, it's a muscle, it's a way of being, to turn that off and just listen to yourself or not listen to anything. It happened at that moment, and my life changed, seriously changed at that moment. I was never the same person after that, because it was like I gained this skill. And what the wonderful thing about our minds is, once you realize it's like understanding peace or happiness or freedom, you can always go back there. So once you master the skill of meditation, you can instantly take yourself back to that highest level self. No matter what is happening, you can put it out. And that's the idea, is that this idea, like Freud, right? He's like, you have an ego, and then there's Jung, your shadow self. We got to talk about the shadow self. You're dividing yourself. You are not divided. The idea that I've found, and especially in East and West, if you combine it, is to make yourself one. The idea that you're scattered, I have a dark side, I have a light side. No, you choose. Do you want to be the light side, or do you want to be the dark side? Which one? Make a choice and live one or the other. You don't have to dwell and go back and forth. It's like, be the person you want to be. Take the action. Make the decision. That's what the idea of this devil is doing, and the idea of the angel is doing, is that it's challenging you. Which way do you want to go? There's no demons that are running around in this world other than humans have fallen to the dark side. And most of the time when you talk to people that have done these horrible things, a lot of times they know they've done them, and they either can regret them or they don't. And it kind of determines where you go. You know what I mean? I don't want to say, there's a lot of people I've met that have done some horrible things, been in prisons, killed people, whatever it may be. And some of them learn from that and regret that and want to improve. And sometimes you got to be burned to learn. You know what I mean? Shaken to awaken. You got to go into the dark to see the light. And I get that. It's a part of life. But if you don't learn that lesson and you're always on the dark side, then you failed. And that's the idea. Like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Let's join together and create a better world together. And it's not about pushing those people away. It's about helping them become better people. The only way we win is if we turn the people that are on the dark side into the light side. Because unfortunately, when people gain power, they can become corrupted if they don't have a way of living, a guide that walks them through on how to deal with all these situations. And we end up with a world like this, right? We all want the same things. We're like, dude, why is it like this? Why are you guys up here in the power position such like clueless people, or just don't do what we all know needs to be done? It's really not that hard. The systems of the world, we all need food and water and clothes, and we all want to buy stuff. We all want to do all this stuff. It's really not that hard to figure this out. Okay? I don't have any power. I don't have any money, but I have solutions. And that's what I'm trying to share, is that, look, it's really not this hard. It's not even that complex once you understand it. So.
And Alex says the brain is extremely powerful, great message. And then he tagged Tim Sowen, I think, saying, this is what we were talking about the other day, because Tim is here. Tim has had leukemia was diagnosed 15 years ago with leukemia. And he was a little nervous about some testing that he had earlier this week. And they found absolutely no leukemia in him at all.
I'm telling you, and this is like, if we teach these skills to our children, it'll help them throughout their entire life. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to go back and teach them. And I've met kids that are, kind of meditating and whatever. Their minds are so much more in balance And there's like 4 or 5, 6, whatever, 10 different ways to meditate. There's at least 5 that are really beneficial. So this idea we're talking about, this core belief system, is so prevalent. And what I found is it's not like, how do I say this? When I say these 10 beliefs are so core to humanity, they're like the universal truths of what we all should believe or do believe if we all knew the truth. So these first 2 should be fairly obvious from what we were just talking about. They are: the primary purpose of life is to become your true self, live your true life, and go to heaven. And the true purpose of society is to become our true society. So the idea of creating a conducive world for all of us. This is our room, our home. It'd be nice if it's all nice and healthy and good, and everybody can enjoy it. And the idea of you, again, becoming the best person you can be, living the best life. The idea of heaven, if you're not a believer, don't get hung up on that word. It's like the idea, what's going to happen afterwards. The idea of going to the ultimate place. So if the word heaven doesn't work, you can switch that out for something else. But this idea of you becoming the best person you can be, living your best life, helping create a better world, like I say, is fundamental to being human, right? That literally the human conditions under which we live force us into creating a better world and bettering ourselves, or not. You know what I mean? It's like a choice.
So what's your strategy for, I know you've been on a lot of lives and you've been talking about this, you've written the book and it just came out, I know, but what's your strategy for helping spread the word even more?
Gosh, well, I honestly wish I had enough money to do it. It seems like you got to pay to play. It's $5,000 or $10,000 a month to get a good PR person. It's, another $5,000 for this. So right now I had to give up a lot to write the book. Dyslexia and whatever, it's not easy. I have all 3 books written. I'm editing the other 2. The real master plan here is to join with a lot of people. Hopefully people are listening. I have a tribe on Facebook. I have social media accounts. We're trying to group up. I'm trying to figure out how to group up and teach this information. I'm doing a show. I've done 2 episodes so far. I've got to cut them. It's a lot of work, as and get that going. But I need help. I mean, the first plan here is to get the information out and join with people so that we can then take this bigger step. I can't do this myself. And again, this is the most important work there is to do. I have other businesses. I have a consulting business. I have a drug testing business. I literally have a social media play that will change the whole face of social media today. And I've showed it to people. They want to invest, but I couldn't give all that time because I had to finish this.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, like every time my business was doing well, I'm like, okay, back to the way. It wasn't like, oh, let's make more and more money. Let's grow this. No, it was like, I'm making enough. Now I can turn my attention to doing the greater work. So the first step is to get the message, right? And the second step is to grow the tribe and then to spread the message further. So that's what I'm trying to figure out how to do. So if anybody's hearing this, please don't just walk by this and say, oh, it's just something like we've seen before. This is nothing like you've seen before. And I am nothing like you've seen before. And we can go far if we can join together and help each other. You know what I mean? And that's why I think God put me in this position. I mean, my dad passed. I'm caring for my mom. She's got major health issues. I mean, the medical, just a side note, the medical thing is so out of control in this country. I can't even understand how it's even like $96,000 for 2 days in the hospital. How is that even a thing? I mean, my God in heaven, some medications are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is incredible, just what people go through. To go bankrupt because you're just trying to take care of yourself or your parents who just need some help is absurd to me.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying too is in the book, this goes way deeper than just some theory. Like you said, there's solutions, but it also goes deeper. I know we don't have a lot of time left, but beyond step 4, this master code that's going to guide you through your life, you got step 5, which is about mastering your day. Literally, how do you integrate the best practices into your day? We will walk you through it. How to master time, how to master ritual, how to master the art of life, all these basics. And then step 6 is all about you uniting with other people. It's you putting your best foot forward in the world. How do you be a better friend? How do you deal with positive relationships? How do you turn negative relationships into positive? How do you deal with the negative relationships that just still negative that you can't get rid of, and all the rest? And as well as how do we deal with power and wealth and fame and business and government, how those structures should work, what the whole format of our society should be. So that's all step 6. And then in step 7 is called perfect. And it ends there because perfect in English kind of carries 2 meanings, which is to refine, as in I need to perfect it. And it is perfect, right? It's perfect now, and I want to keep it that way. In either case, you can't just let it go. It takes action. So if you have a perfect relationship, a perfect work of art, a perfect whatever, you have to maintain it. You have to work at it to keep it that way. We have artworks that are, behind glass with, no air in there, no light, anything else. So that idea, and then the idea of continually refinement, right, is that there might be another mountain to climb, another goal after that you've met this one. So you always want to look at what you're doing in a way that you might be able to improve it. So
can somebody implement this without like an accountability partner, without a coach, or without some going through, what's the best way to implement it? Just on your own?
Well, I think it depends on the person. I'm starting a group on Facebook. I'm trying to get enough people where we could do group meetings. There are people, everybody needs different things, right? I'm a loner guy. For me, it's I'll take this and go into my cave and figure it out. Then there's other people that like, I want to do this in a group. I have a friend like that right now. He's like, please, man, do a Facebook group. Let's talk about this. I want to talk with other people about it. So, I think we need all of these things. And that's why I'm saying it's like, this is so much more than me. You know what I mean? I'm just a vessel trying to share a message. I'm like a guy who went into a cave and found something cool and is trying to share it with people. So this isn't about me. It's about all of us understanding these basic principles. And again, like our society right now with the government, it's so crazy to me that any of this is happening, because once you understand the way the government should work and what it should be doing, none of this, you know what I mean? It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's all power plays. It's all corruption. It's all games people have been playing for so many years. They've lost the sight of what they're even doing. You know what I'm saying? So, but we can fix this, right? In our society, we can vote on it. Luckily, we're blessed. We live in a world where democracy still is alive. We're in a tipping point where if we don't get a grip on this, it's going to go back to kings and queens and autocrats, and they will have weapons and technology that will never let us overthrow them again. So be clear on this, people. This isn't like the old days where you can get a bunch of people with swords, and I don't care how many guns you have stashed away right now. You're not taking on the U.S. government military. You're not. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So either, or the Chinese government or whatever it may be, you as individuals are going to have to join together in such masses that the world has never seen. But the beauty is the way shows us how to peacefully force positive change. I literally, in step 6, outline the steps on how we exactly do this without any bloodshed, right? And a lot of it's just turning the minds of people. Let me just tell a quick story on that. I'm going to go to Gandhi. I'm going to go to Gandhi on this. Gandhi, I don't know if people know this, but India was under British rule for a long time. And Gandhi came along, he was trying to free India. And there was this one moment where they were protesting in this square, and the British army was just destroying them, shooting them and beating them. And people like from Britain were there, and they saw this, and it got into the newspapers in the United Kingdom. And once the British people understood what they were doing to other people who just wanted to be free, it changed everything. So, and again, this idea that there's no hope, there's always hope. The darkest before the dawn isn't literally true, right? Before dawn, it's literally lighter. The idea of that is that in a second where you think there is no way, there is a way. And I've experienced this in my life. Trust me, it is possible. I did on my show, I told a story about this. But so what I'm saying to you right now is the only reason I'm here, and I think I was delayed my whole life so much, is that I could kind of show up right now and hopefully bring this message. And I don't know how to do it all right. You know what I'm saying? I'm a human being. I need help. I just want to just be able to share this so that we don't have to live this way. And if I could get 10 of the most richest or wealthiest people in the world together, we could fix this in 2 years. I mean, it's really not that hard. I don't even understand why it's not so obvious to the people that are running the world, why it's even like this, because they just don't know. And that's where we need to get them the book. So if you know these people, help me get to them or send them the book.
Kim says, I'm so glad I came to hear this tonight. Thank you. And Joanne says she's getting some interesting ideas for opportunities to collaborate, and she's connecting with you right now. And she said, I'm so grateful in divine timing, because Joanne sent me a connection request at about 7:15 tonight. Wow. And I said, I'm getting ready to go live in like 15 minutes. Join us. And so she did. And Russ says, whoop, whoop. One thing is, perhaps, I haven't been in your Facebook group, but, just a study group of some key people to really get together and discuss this. And think that's the way you learn too, is talking about and sharing what you've learned.
Yeah. And that's one of my plans. So I'm trying to pick a time, you know what I mean? To get a certain core group of people together just to start the ball rolling. Maybe we change times so more people can join at different here is, like I said, I need help. There's just so much to do. I can't do this alone. And it doesn't, if there's enough of us, just think about it like this. If you were to change the world, what do we need? We need an organization, right? That's going to be able to be kind of the center point. We need a code that we can then implement. And we need people and money, right? That's it. If you have 1 billion people, $1 a month, I mean, just think about that. From 500 million people give $1 a month, click on stuff, sign petitions, and then maybe a couple hundred people show up at different places and do different things here and there. I mean, this is how you change the world. And right now, literally, right now, it's so easy. We could literally, like right now, you could join me, 1 billion people on Facebook. You know what I mean? And we could raise unbelievable amounts of money to implement these changes in the world. It's literally that easy. And that's what's amazing when I'm going through this and I'm going through all my challenges. I don't know. I always look at like past people, like what they had to go through. It's like, look, I don't have to cut through the jungle and build my house. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is, if we want to change the world, this is a cakewalk. Okay. Seriously. I mean, the trouble that we're having is that, like with the movements of today, that's why I created the one tribe, the one movement, the one party, the idea that we can have a platform, a place where we can join together and make these changes. The problem with all these movements, that they're so niche, and they don't group up everybody together. It's like Black Lives Matter movement this summer, it's like if they would have gotten the police to join with them, because I know enough police, nobody, like who thinks anybody wants corrupt cops? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
nobody does.
Like if you ever know police, the good policemen, no, that's not why they're doing this. The same thing with teachers or whatever. They're doing this to help people. So it's like they want to help people. So if the Black Lives Matter got together with the good cops, which they're mostly are, they could have changed the whole thing. Instead of they made it us against them thing, and it's never going to work. Anytime you start throwing shade and mud and yelling at people and throwing bottles at them and hurting them, you're creating enemies. It's never going to lead to peace. You're never going to make a solution. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to create peace in this place by dropping bombs on people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you got to figure out, I mean, isn't it true that the average ability, reading level of citizen of the US is like, what is it? It's low. So could they read this and implement it?
Well, that's the whole idea of trying to get this out in all these different mediums, right? You don't have to necessarily read every word of this book to help change the world, right? You can watch videos, you can understand certain principles, you can take a class. You know what I mean? Somebody teach it to you and walk you through lessons, which I want to create it. This is literally broken down into lessons. Like it'd be so easy for somebody, and I want to do it. It's just like, how much time do I possibly have? Write books, do all the shows, do social media. You know what I mean? It's like, it's incredible amount of work for one person.
It is.
I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. If I had the money and the people, we could literally save the world in a couple of years. So
what does your consulting company do?
Consulting A started in 1999, and we started out as SEO, search engine optimization, grew into internet marketing, and then I just had so much kind of business experience that turned into strategic consulting. So I did a lot of, just helping to build companies and, solving their problems, finding the bottlenecks. I can't even tell you how many unknown bottlenecks companies have. And they're like, why are we having so many problems? It's like, oh, well, it's because you at the C level don't even know what the problems are. That's half the problem right there. So
yeah, that's true.
And all the workers do know, and you just don't listen to them. So there you go. Anyway, we can get into that. So I did that. And then I, along the way, picked up a couple companies. One of them is a drug testing company I took over. That's a national USA company. Got destroyed in COVID. It was literally allowing me for 5 years to do nothing but really focus and write the book and just kind of collect my check and let the business run. So I have that. So now what I'm trying to do is figure out how to make money doing this, sharing this message, building the tribe. I just set up my Patreon page. So I have that set up. I need to share that with everybody. Hopefully, we get I know there's people on there, God bless them, they're doing good work. Don't get me wrong, but there's like people on there making 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 a month, like sharing cartoons with people. I'm hoping that, if we want to help save the world and help people in the world, help everybody live better lives, that maybe I can find some supporters. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways to do this. You know what I'm saying? There's publicity. There's good publicity firms. Believe me, they could get me on shows. We could do a lot of stuff, but they cost so much. Minimum, it's like $5,000 a month.
Well, your enthusiasm's contagious, and there's several people on here that have commented and on what you're saying. And Joanne says that she sees ways that you guys can collaborate. So she connected with you. So
that's the start. That's what I'm trying to do. Is find the people. So please do that, and let's figure this out. And anybody that hears this in the future, this isn't ever going to end. The whole idea here is for people to kind of get the idea when you go on to do a show and you people saying like, Google it. You hear that? That was a PR thing that they did to get the word out, and people say Google instead of search. If you could understand, like people walk around saying, yeah, I follow the way, have t-shirts, we follow the way. Do you know the way? This whole idea of what is the way? It's living rational positive action. It's about integrating virtue and best practices into your life. It has solutions on how you can literally do this, how we can fix our society, create a better world. That's what I'm into. That's what we're doing. You know what I mean? That's the kind of idea. We could share that with each other. Like you said, make it an infection, a good infection this time, to heal the world instead of destroy it. But that's why this all happened too. I mean, the whole coronavirus, everything that's happening in the world is to get the humanity to wake up.
Wake up.
You know what I mean? Like seriously, like there's too many people sometimes that are doing, like living their lives, think they're doing good when we're just participating in our own destruction. You know what I'm saying? It's like dancing on the Titanic as it's sinking. You know what I'm saying? That's like sometimes the idea of the people, coming and hurting people, like they blow themselves up, is to get you to wake up. Like you're asleep. Wake up, America. Your people are killing us every day at our homes, and you're sitting here having coffee, and you have no idea that our family's being murdered. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. So it's like we all as humanity have to stop this madness. Nobody wants to live a horrible life, and nobody should have to. How do
you sleep at night? Because in your book, part of the way is to get a good night's sleep, right?
Well, this is one of the keys to life. So at a very young age, it's like this idea of, and again, in step 5, we talk about time, how to master time, how you master time. There's one of the ideas in there is your time. It's called my time. My time is my time. It doesn't have anything to do with this world. I am beyond this world. I'm an infinite being, right? The moment God created me, beyond this world, and then forever, I am going to exist. I'm just inhabiting this body for a short time. While I'm here, I get to do what I want. And when I was young, like I said, I had a lot of negative thinking, a lot of bullying. I mean, people calling you stupid every day. In your mind, you're calling yourself stupid. I mean, you should just die. You shouldn't be here. Just go home. Don't exist. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you just want to die as a kid. You want to not exist anymore. Every time you wake up in the morning, you wanted to just go back to sleep and just never wake up again. So how do you do it? You need to take control of your mind. You need to understand that when it's my time is when I go to bed. I'm in my going to sleep routine to when I wake up. The outside world doesn't intrude on me. It's like you want to have time to worry about something, make a time during the day, spend 15 minutes, write down your list, say tomorrow, I'm going to spend 15 minutes. I'm going to go down my worry list, and we're going to think about each one of these. And once you do that a few times, you realize you need to take actions on your worry list. And some of the worries are meaningless. I talk about worry in the book, just so you know how to overcome worry, all that stuff. So it's about you having your time. I'm not saying I don't have my challenging moments. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When your mom's in the hospital or something's happening, you're a little stressed out. But then you work out. You have your routine. You sleep. You just make yourself do it. So.
Well, Joanne says that she has a community engagement art project that shares the same message. So it sounds like you two need to connect, and maybe there's some ways you can collaborate.
Exactly. The one movement, the one party, the tribe. This is the whole idea of us uniting and helping each other. You know what I mean? What she said, she can help me, but I bet you that in that group that we can form, there's a whole bunch of people that she could help or that could help her too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's about us sharing this helpful, positive work and making it spread everywhere. So it's not like you're doing all of these things for me. Like I'm sharing your social media, I'm sharing your work, you're sharing my work. We're trying to build something together that makes a big difference in the world. And it's all of us. You know what I mean? This is the beauty of humanity. It's like we're all into so many different things, and that's wonderful.
Thank you for being on the show tonight. It was awesome. I learned so much, and I'm looking forward to, I'm getting ready to go on a vacation to visit my daughter, and I'll be finishing this book over the holidays. So I'm looking forward to finishing it and
thank you
and learning more.
Yeah, let it be on again. We could have deeper conversations. It seemed to go by so fast.
Yeah, I know it does. So I want to thank everybody. Joanne says co-creating together. Thank you everybody who showed up. Joanne, Russ, Kim, Bill, Alex, Tim, Anna. I'll probably miss somebody because there's so
Let's
many.
share this with your
comments here.
friends, everybody. Let's start a movement here.
Yeah, share it with your friends. In fact, I can put this, hold on, let me see. Let me do something here. If everyone would take a screenshot, and I'm going to put this banner, you can take a screenshot and share it and tag Andrew and say, what you got out of the show. That would be great. So take a screenshot. We'll just smile here. Take a screenshot and share it and help Andrew spread the word about the way and get the book and read through it. And the two other books aren't published yet?
No, I have them. I have to find time to finish editing them. So if I have some help with this other stuff, I'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I did write them all at the same time, so they are written. Wow.
How long did it take you to write them all? I mean, I know with all the research, but when you sat down to write.
5 years. 2015 is when I had the discovery of the way, the 7 steps. It was April 3rd, 5th. It was Good Friday. And I was sitting down and I was sorting through the beginning and ending of the way. And I discovered the 7 steps. It was like, I kept finding my references to, this is key to true success. And I put them all together and boom. And then from that moment on, it was like, drop everything. This is obsession. This is like, compulsion. I couldn't do anything. It took me 5 years. So.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Now we just got to make it real in the world.
Yes.
So,
I'm going to put you in the green room. I'll be right back. Wait, we have one more comment. Let me see. Oh yeah, Russ, I agree. We are better together. And Joanna says, it's vital for this message to be shared. Thanks, Emily, for giving Andrew the opportunity. Yeah, we'll have to have him back too and go into more depth. You guys all read the book, then you can submit, even some tough questions for me and Andrew.
Cool.
So
thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, everybody. Right. Peace.
I'll be right there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. I've got one more show coming up next Wednesday, and then I'm taking about a month off, which, to be honest, makes me a little nervous because if you know me, I've said that I kind of stay busy, and that's something that I'm working on with myself to just be and to just enjoy. So I'm not going to do any of my podcasting or work or anything over the holidays. I'm just going to enjoy my time with my children and my grandson and my family. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I hope you do too, because, life is short and the creating memories over the holidays especially is so important. So if this is the last time I see you, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and hopefully you'll join me next Wednesday night at 7:30, and then I'll be back after the new year. Thank you for watching. The Onward Podcast is sponsored by Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. Visit my website, emilyharmon.com, to learn more about my coaching programs and how you can work with me. Let's move onward together.